Welcome to the Pal Bros Movie Reviews, brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. Our reviews are more than just reviews. We are here to build the new Christendom by exposing the bad writers, money lovers, and sexual perverts found in Hollywood. Continue listening to know what type of content we as Christians should be consuming and what we should stray away from. This is the Pal Bros Movie Reviews. If you wish to support us in our mission, head over to patreon.com/thepalbros or follow the link in the show notes. There you'll gain access to our exclusive show, the Pal Bros Mini Reviews, as well as early access to both movie chronicles and movie reviews by the Pal Bros. And now, on with the show. A boy with a great responsibility thrust upon him. Is he worthy of this responsibility? A guy who can't juggle life and responsibility. And finally, a man who must learn to put his woman's needs before his own. A man who must learn to die to himself as a sacrifice for his woman. Can he do it? Can he overcome his desires? As we wrap up this trilogy, will we see a man who has come full circle in a good story and had become an honorable man? Well, continue listening as we review Spider-Man 3.
Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews, where we have better dance moves than Tobey Maguire, or Bully Maguire, however you want to call him. I am one of your hosts, Trent Powell. I'm here with my other host, Tobiah Powell. How are you?
Hello, doing
We're
pretty
the Powell
good.
Bros.
Yep, Powell Bros Movie Reviews. We are coming to we are nearing our end for Season 1 with Spider-Man 3 today. We're coming close to the end of the early 2000s era of superhero movies.
So what year did we
this
start
one
in?
and one more.
What year was, I guess because we went in chronological order. But
Yeah.
like Punisher 89, what did we do anything before that?
Howard the Duck, I think, was before that?
Howard the Duck, yeah.
I think that was the first one.
That was
Very first one.
86 or something.
Yeah.
Maybe earlier. I don't know. But anyways, we're covering, so that's like
86.
20, like at least, yeah. Oh, wow. So 20, a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
Or exactly 20 years. Yeah, 20 years, because 2006, Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
It's 20 years of Marvel films we have tackled, and we're nearing the end. We have one more after this.
Yep.
Yippee. So this
21 years. 2007.
Oh, yeah.
3.
2007. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Very cool. Yeah.
So, and this is our third trilogy we've completed, right? Blade, X-Men, Spider-Man.
Yep.
Wow.
So,
We've come far.
what were some of your initial thoughts on this
Actually,
one, Trent? I know you've seen this movie many times.
Oh, yes.
But
I actually want to hear
into
your initial thoughts first.
okay.
I'm really curious about your opinions on this film
Yeah. So,
before I give you mine.
yeah. There are a lot of good things that I never noticed because the bad things were so atrociously horrific and burned into my mind that I just never noticed the good things.
Yeah.
But then there's also those bad things that are there. And then there's some other narrative things that I didn't notice that I'd noticed this time. But I would say I found more good in it this time than I had in any other time I'd watched it. And I think because a lot of the complaints are with the three villains, and I think there were some things that they could have done better with it, but I don't think it was as bad as people say it was with three villains, because they all did have their own purpose. There is one villain that I will say that could have either not been in there or been a little different, but all three of them, they had their arcs were relatively good and completed, and Spider-Man's arc was a pretty solid arc throughout the film, and the direction they went with him with this movie, which I love how they've kind of done something different in each film, and you kind of saw that progression through each. So like the goal of the last movie, he got it, but then now we're seeing the negative effects of that goal that he had in the last movie. And so I think that was interesting. And yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack with this movie. This might end up being one of our longest reviews. We'll see.
Okay. One question. Why can't we just disagree on something? Okay, we've had our disagreements, but I feel like 98% of the things that we talk about and review, our opinions on movies are in agreement.
Yeah, we do agree quite a bit.
We'll just let the mob come after us. But yeah, I like this movie a lot more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
This one has a similar relationship that I have with Hulk, in that I think it tells a really good story. It's just there's a lot of things surrounding it and a lot of choices that were made that were really dumb and that do stand out dumb.
15-20 minutes right there in the middle of it. If they would have taken that out of the movie, this would have been a really great movie.
Well, I remember the Bully Maguire stuff lasting a lot longer. Yeah. I was actually kind of surprised that it didn't linger too long, but it was there and it stands out.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the I don't know if I want to get into all the bad stuff right now, but overall, I was moved by the film. By the end, I was like, oh wow, they really brought this whole trilogy pretty full circle, and gave Peter a good conclusion. I say gave Mary Jane somewhat of a good conclusion, even though she didn't have much going for her in the previous two films. I feel like she was a little bit better, but she mostly just played a victim throughout the whole film, victim of Peter. Mm-hmm. But that's because of Peter's choices and because he didn't understand what it takes to be Spider-Man and wasn't sensitive to her and her struggles and her needs. But anyways, I found myself once I got to the third act, I was like, man, this is actually really good. I actually care about these characters, and I'm compelled by this. Even though I've seen this movie a gazillion times, and I've mostly disliked it most of the times I've seen it. This was one I saw in theaters when I was a kid. 2007, so I was 14. I loved the marketing behind this film. I loved the black Spidey suit. That was a really big deal. I remember all the soda cans, and I don't know if it was Burger King or maybe McDonald's that did kids meal stuff. I was 14, so I don't know why. Maybe that's not what I'm thinking about. Maybe I'm just thinking about all the just merchandise and stuff that I would see.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyways, this movie. I remember seeing it, and for the most part, I liked it. I wasn't a super big fan of Venom and how he was portrayed. And I remember really thinking okay, the whole Bully Maguire stuff is just weird. Even then, I could just tell this is just odd and
it's so cringy. It's so just so cringy.
And maybe that's kind of the point because and that's what I was kind of asking myself is this intentionally cringy, or are they just oblivious to what they did? I think maybe a little bit of both. Because they're showing the effect that the Venom suit has on him. Yeah. And they've Dr. Connors even says that the suit or the symbiote enhances it takes on the personality of the person, but then exaggerate whatever the word is. Exaggerate. I don't know. Exaggerate? No,
exacerbate.
No. Exacerbate. That word.
Yeah.
We just need put together a whole segment of words that I can't pronounce on this stupid podcast. Yeah. I do it almost every time. Anyways, I'm an idiot. Yeah. Anyways, so Connors points that out, and then you see Peter acting like an idiot and going really over the top emo Maguire, and it's weird and cringy and jarring. Yeah. But okay, it has some of it has to be a little intentional. I think they went too far.
Yeah. Well, I also think that's kind of where we saw some of the struggle in Tobey Maguire's acting was in that.
Really?
Maybe not even his acting. It's just because of his personality, he couldn't quite portray the, I don't know, evil, I guess, of the character in those scenes. Because it's not even he's
it's supposed to
evil.
be evil.
It's just yeah.
He's just full of himself. And
Yeah, he's
oblivious
just
to
like so
others.
full of himself, and I think he just struggled to really portray that.
Huh.
And I think he was just like kind of like, yeah, I think he was going over the top with it, and that's where the disconnect was for the, because with acting you can't go over the top, you have to be natural, and I think he was going over the top and going past that natural point, and that's
Yeah.
where you kind of get that cringe, and you kind of get pulled away from the movie. You're kind of just watching this cringy thing that's on the screen, and I think that's where a lot of that awkwardness and cringe comes for those scenes.
Every time I see that scene where it pretty much all starts when he's walking past the mirror, he steps back, looks at it, and then like moves his hair over his face.
Yeah.
Like what in the world? It's like,
I know, he's like,
uh,
oh yeah, well, this isn't video. I was
edgy.
reenacting what he was doing.
Yeah. I'm edgy now. And then the walking down the street and like finger guns to the girls. It's like
Yeah.
goes into a store, walks out with a black jacket and then just like does that weird thrusting and yeah.
The one scene, now dig on this.
Dig on. Oh yeah, and some of the lines. I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. Dig on this.
All right, we should get into the review.
Oh man. Okay, we just had to get this over
right.
with. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's the story here?
So I
plot
think
of
it kind
this
of all
one?
starts with we see Spider-Man, and he's got this, seemingly perfect life. He's got the girl. He's able to be Spider-Man. It's everything he dreamed of in the last movie. In Spider-Man 2, it's everything he dreamed of. He wanted the girl, and he wanted to be Spider-Man, and he wanted things to just work out, and they were working out. Oh, and he was keeping his job. He was, he was going to work. He was going to school. He was keeping up his grades.
Yep.
Like it was everything he wanted in the second movie. He's got it in this movie, and then he goes to Aunt May, and he's like, Aunt May, I'm gonna propose to Mary Jane, and then she's all excited, and then she tells him, are you ready to put her needs before your needs? And then he says, yeah, I think I am. And then she's like, well, then you have my blessing. Yeah. And so I think that moment is kind of like where his story really gets to start. But that was pretty good way into the movie. And all the other scenes mixed into that were introductions to all the villains. We get an introduction to Sandman and who he is. We get an introduction to Harry, how he's got beef with Spider-Man still, Peter Parker, because of his father.
Yeah.
And we get introduced to the symbiote of Venom. We don't get introduced to Eddie till a little ways in.
Right.
But Venom and Sandman and Harry, we all get introduced to them, all three of the villains, and we all see like where they're standing and what their motives are. We get all three of their motives right away. So I thought that was pretty good. So everybody
Definitely.
is getting their introductions and everything right off the bat, and yeah, I thought that worked pretty good.
Yeah, I think that worked pretty well, better than a lot of movies that we've seen, especially when it comes to villains. Like, and this one had 3 villains, and they all had pretty clear motivations. They were, for the most part, well developed. Yes, we can start getting into the weeds and ask, okay, was it necessary to have 3 villains? Did it actually work?
I think 2 of them were necessary.
Sure.
I think, but then there's one that could have maybe not been in, but it also did kind of work with it, and when you get to the third act, you're like, oh, this is all coming together and working together.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I don't know.
It's hard because what I would have liked is just a movie about Venom. Like, I think if it was just Venom, but a good Venom and a more accurate Venom and a more maybe a little bit maybe a different actor and more compelling character, but like because we're following Toby's story, and yes, they bring in Sandman, they bring in Harry, and they help the character develop and give him struggles and stuff, and Sandman's story with how he actually was the one that killed his father or his uncle, and so Spider-Man's temptation to go and find him and kill him, and then he does kill quote unquote kill him, and then his satisfaction in that revenge, and then Aunt May pointing out it's like, oh, Spider-Man doesn't kill people, and then he kind of is faced with that guilt and that he's questioning, okay, well, did I do the right thing? And it wasn't after that moment when he stops using the suit for a while. So like that moment I liked because he repented right then when he recognizes guilt, and so he throws the suit away, but he doesn't. Well, he puts the suit, he locks it away. He doesn't get rid of it in that moment because he comes back to it after life gets hard, and so it's just he's going back to the filth. He's going back to the dog's vomit. He's going back to his sin, and then he takes the suit again when he wants to use that power, and then he uses it for his own selfish purposes, and then he has that full turn to his dark side, and then until
you're getting kind of ahead of us.
I know. Okay. Talking about things I did like about the movie.
No, for sure. Let's see, where were we? I guess I'll just continue on with the story of where we were. So so after we get our introduction to all three villains. So I was gonna say that one reason, like, I feel like Harry had to be a villain in this movie is because of the last movie, because they kind of set him up as a villain already. So it would have been really weird if he wasn't a villain in this movie. Him being in this movie, he had to be a villain. So like those could have been the two villains, was Venom and him. Sandman was questionably unnecessary. But anyway.
Right, because it's kind of a cheap way to even bring him in, we find out that, he's actually the one that killed his uncle, when apparently the cops knew that, but they didn't tell him, or they didn't want to hurt them or something, and so it's like,
he was the
just
one.
Convenient. A lot of convenience.
There was a lot of convenience, and Sandman was definitely the one with a lot of questionable things. Like, he was the one that didn't work the most out of all three. And we can get into that. But so Spider-Man actually defeats Harry pretty early for the first time. So he defeats him, like, let's see, I'm trying to remember what the fight was.
Harry and
because they fight twice.
Right, Harry and Peter? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Peter just got the ring. He's all excited about being able to propose to Mary Jane, and he's riding on his scooter. By the way, this movie decided to forget about spider sense until Venom made a comment about it later on, but he apparently Spider-Man gets caught off guard like multiple times in this film. When he's riding the bike and Harry comes in and swoops him off the bike. It's like, okay. So there's that.
So that was very early in the movie. Harry comes and attacks Peter. They fight for a little bit. Peter wins by basically knocking Harry unconscious, and then he loses his memory, and then they're all best friends again. So right after he defeats him, that's when Flint becomes Sandman. And so Harry gets knocked unconscious.
He gets sidelined
for a little bit.
He gets sidelined a couple times.
And then they cut to Sandman's story, and he falls into the pit, whatever. They're like, no, it's just a bird. It'll fly away. Again, a dumb thing that they did.
I know. It's like, there's no security in this super, super secret science project. It's going on at like 2 a.m. for some reason. And the cops are chasing.
That was another very convenient thing. He falls in, and immediately they start it. It's
right. And then he gets caught in, and then happens turn into Sandman.
And then becomes Sandman. Sandman's his story is like pretty disconnected from Spider-Man for most of the movie, and it's really not till Spider-Man like goes to kill him that they ever. I don't think they even speak before that.
Well, they fight in the train station because he tracks him down. He found out that he killed his uncle, and so so he has that scene in the train station, or that line where he says, like, give me or I can't remember what he said. Basically, Peter says, well, what about my uncle? Did you give him a chance? And then he...
that was when he killed him.
That's where he kills him,
But before that, like, he fights him at the... He was stealing from the armored car or whatever.
Right. So that was his typical Spider-Man comes in to save the day whenever a villain.
And that was at the big ol' key to the city for Spider-Man. And oh yeah, we haven't talked about Gwen. So Gwen is introduced pretty early too, because
There's a
she's
lot of
one of his
characters.
classmates, and then she is doing like a photo shoot thing, and a crane falls into the building, and then Spider-Man goes in and saves her. And then because of that, because she's the daughter of Captain Stacy, which is a captain of the police department, they decide to give him the key to the city, and Gwen is the one that presents it to him. So this is where we start to see how Spider-Man isn't able to put Mary Jane's needs before his own, because this is where we see that his need to be Spider-Man and to be loved by all the people is
Mm-hmm.
so great, and that's where he's starting to put it before Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we start to see these issues. And then so like that's when, when he gets this key to the city, he kisses Gwen Stacy in the same way that he kissed Mary Jane in the first movie.
Which that was like,
And
I mean, I get it. I get what they're trying to do. They're showing how he's oblivious and selfish, but it's like even that was like a little bit unbelievable. Like that's not a that doesn't, it didn't feel like a decision that the Peter that we know from the previous movies would actually make. Like obviously with Mary Jane standing right there and watching this whole thing, like why in the world would he
right.
do that? But maybe he's also so oblivious to the whole fact that he's Spider-Man, or the difference between Spider-Man
I
and
think it's
Peter.
just because yeah, that, and I think he just idolizes himself as
Right.
Spider-Man. I think he idolizes Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
because of that, like that's where his obliviousness comes from,
Fair.
distinguishing his two lives. And so yeah, so this is where that all starts. And then during that, that's when Sandman comes in, and then they have their first fight where he's stealing from the armored car and all that. And so, of course, Mary Jane is super upset at him at that point, and she's
Mm-hmm.
let's see, I'm trying to think of, does she break up with him?
No, they don't
Well, they
break
don't
up.
break up,
They go to
but
the dinner, and he's going to propose to her, but
oh
um,
yeah,
they get in a fight because oh yeah, Gwen Stacy shows up at the
Gwen
restaurant,
arrives, yeah,
and then Mary Jane finds out that Gwen Stacy's a science partner, not only another classmate, but a science partner, project partner with
they're
Peter, and
basically
Peter never mentioned
friends,
her.
yeah.
It's like, oh, this girl that he just kissed is a part,
It's a close person to
close
him,
person
close
in his
acquaintance,
life.
yeah.
So it's like that would hurt pretty bad.
Yeah. So his life really starts to fall apart at this point. So Mary Jane kind of takes a break from him, and you see how she's starting to like call on Harry to comfort her,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kind of have like a date thing, like
Mm-hmm.
unofficial date. And so like you really see how Peter's really screwing up here, and he's losing his girl. So this is where like all those things that like his perfect life is starting to fall apart. Yeah, so this is where he loses his girl, and I think somewhere around there they also introduce Eddie for the first point,
Mm-hmm.
and Eddie is like a competitor for Peter as a photographer. So now he's also fighting for his job, and he's losing his girl, and so he's kind of getting back to this struggle of keeping his Spider-Man life and his real life separate
Yeah.
and intact. And
But this time it's not just because of what's required, necessarily of what's required of him as Spider-Man. It's because he has idolized the Spider-Man side of himself, and he's been selfish and careless towards others. So it's a little bit different this time around compared to the last two films.
yeah,
The other ones, he was just learning what it took to take responsibility and recognize that he has to make sacrifices, and he wasn't willing to make those sacrifices. This time, it's similar. He needs to make sacrifices, and he needs to take responsibility. But what he's doing is he's learned his lessons in the past, but now he's giving into his sin. He's giving into his selfishness and his pride, and letting that consume him and take over.
yeah, for sure. And so while all this is happening, like where his life is starting to fall apart, couple of things. Harry gets his memory back,
Right.
and Harry starts to manipulate that and use it to his advantage, and to get back to, because now he remembers everything. So he's like, okay, I need to kill Spider-Man. His dad's voice is like, you got sidetracked, get back on track.
Yeah.
And so he's back on his mission to try to kill Spider-Man, Peter Parker. So he starts to kind of manipulate Mary Jane so that he can further cripple Spider-Man, and that's what and that's what his dad also says is go for his heart. And so Mary Jane, so if he can get them to break up and really cripple Spider-Man through that, that's what his goal is, and that's what he does. He tells Mary Jane to break up with him if she wants him to live, and she does. Mm-hmm. And also during all this is when he starts to have this struggle with, that's when Venom is also clinging to him, because as his life is falling apart, he's kind of losing himself. And so it's kind of like a perfect opportunity where this Venom is creeping in through the cracks and taking advantage of all his weaknesses, and even heightening his weaknesses to make him even worse. And so that struggle, I think, did he have the suit before they broke up, or was it after?
Before.
I think it was after.
It was before they broke up.
It was? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain.
Oh, so I think he had his first. Yeah, that's when they broke up. That was when he. Yeah, so he wore it before that. He that's when he had that, what you had mentioned earlier, where he had that repentance. He put it aside, and he's like, no, I don't want this. I see what it's doing to me. I don't want any part of this.
Well, remember what happened? It was after the restaurant dealio. I think it might have been right after that he got the suit, because that's when he was at it, starting to get kind of he started to hit rock bottom. And
what restaurant thing?
Where she they had that fight.
Yeah.
Because then he finds out about Flint, and then he's waiting on the police scanner, but then Mary Jane comes to see him, and she goes to the apartment. She's like, "Oh, please turn that off." And she wants to talk to him, and she doesn't want to talk about the night that happened. She wants to talk about what happened as far as finding out about Uncle Ben's killer. And she's like, "I'm worried that you're going to do something you'll regret." And he's like, "I'm fine," or whatever. And he's kind of like standoffish and keeping his distance from her. And then she leaves, and then he waits, a little longer, and then finds it. And then as somebody comes across the scanner about Sandman, so he goes, gets his black suit, or no, he goes and he looks at both his suits, which I thought was also just a really good moment, because he could have gone back to his normal suit or the black suit. He chooses the black suit and goes out and goes after him.
Yeah.
And so he gives into that temptation in that moment.
Yeah, so that was the second time that he grabbed his suit, right? That's what you were talking about. So like after they broke up,
so it was the second time
so they broke up, and then he falls back into the Venom, and that's when he like really falls into it. And then he
gets a taste of it when it first latches on him while he's sleeping.
Yeah,
which I can't remember at what moment that was in relation to.
That was Well, that was like that was when it was all first starting. Like he was having some fights with Eddie and the whole he had to competition there, and then he had the big fight with MJ. So these things were all happening. Yeah. So, but anyway, later, like we were just saying, so that's when he gets into his emo, weird, awkward,
his emo phase.
And
it's just a phase, Mom.
It is so cringy. There's nothing redemptive about it. It's just, I mean, I get like they had to have like that evil point in his story where he has the Venom and like showing what it does to him.
Better ways to do it.
There was just so many better ways to do it. When he's like walking down the street, like when he first gets it, and like the girls are like checking him out and stuff. I'm like, what in the world? And then he's like, like finger gunning at them and stuff, and or like giving them like weird looks. I'm like, what in the world is going on? This is so awkward.
Well, it's kind of like going back to what I was saying with the whole scene where he's talking to Dr. Connors. They were implying that, it just heightens your personalities. And so like one is overconfidence, basically. Mm-hmm. So he's being overconfident and going around and, and checking out these girls and, flirting with them. And it's like, okay, but it's over the top. But I kind of can understand what they're doing. Just could have been done differently. And you talk about Tobey Maguire's acting. I thought his acting overall was way better in this one than the other ones. A lot of that comes with just not as much cringe dialogue, except for when he's Bully Maguire, when he's in that emo age. Like, so there's some really cringy dialogue, but for the most part, throughout the rest of the film, there wasn't very many moments where I was like, that line's a little rough, or like I didn't like have that sense of like superhero dialogue that I've been so frustrated with.
Yeah.
Like, especially in the first 2 Spider-Man films, like there are a lot of lines like that, and I feel like he matured a lot, like as a character, but also just the lines were delivered better, and the lines weren't as bad, so the better writing as far as dialogue goes. Yeah. Not that it wasn't perfect, not that it was perfect, because it wasn't, but better, I think.
Yeah. So I do want to mention it was because Harry, he realized that Harry was like dating MJ, and that was one of the reasons he went back to the thing, and I thought that was good. And I thought Harry's arc in this was pretty great. And see, if Sandman wasn't in this, then he wouldn't have gotten sidelined so much. And
right, there's a couple times where he just put sidelined for until they need him for the plot.
Yeah. And then, so while he's Bully Maguire, that's when he really gets into fights with Eddie, because Eddie fakes some photographs of Spider-Man in the black suit,
right,
to get the staff job that they were fighting for, and then he proves that he was fake, and so then he gets the staff job, and then he's so that whole scene with when he's just like overly confident with J. Jonah Jameson, like all the lines he says, like what does he say? He's he asks for like double the money and stuff, and then when he's talking,
I'll take the staff job, double the pay, or my own parking spot and double the pay, something like that.
And then when he's talking to the other girl too,
he's flirting with her,
and then and his neighbor girl, that girl that he's flirting with,
so bad.
And he's like telling her to make him cookies with nuts. He's like, go make me those. I was like, what the heck?
Okay. Well, he's on the phone with Dr. Connors.
Yeah, just completely ignoring him.
That's pretty bad.
But, okay, so that finally comes to an end with... So he takes Gwen on a date to where MJ is working, which we haven't really talked about MJ's arc at all, because she was in the play... And she lost her job in the play, and that's when she went to Harry for comfort instead of Peter, and that's kind of how we knew that she was, they were falling away. And then she ends up getting a job at a little diner, and she sings there and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, he takes Gwen on a date to that diner, and we get another absolutely awful, cringy scene. Now dig on this.
Dig on this.
It's so bad. Man. And just horrible, atrocious dancing and playing of the piano, and the dancing was just not very pleasant.
No, but it was weird. Didn't work.
Yeah. Anyway, so he does all this stuff, and he's like, he's dancing to MJ. I don't know if you had to describe that other than he's dancing to her. Right. And then it all ends, and then Gwen is like, "Was this all for her?" And she's like, "I'm so sorry."
And she leaves, and
which was a reasonable reaction, but
I don't know why she's with this pervert anyway. But
why is she with this guy?
Just kidding.
Why would you be with a guy that is dressed in all black and has his hair the way he had it?
And then just never mind. Yeah, okay.
And the way he talks.
And then after that.
Remember when they got to the restaurant and he needed a seat?
Yeah. Find us some shade.
Yeah, and then he says something else after that, and I can never understand what he's saying.
After what he said to her. Oh,
yeah, he's like, "Now find us some shade, nice legs or something like that."
Oh,
do you not notice when he says that?
Oh, 1 second, I have it up here. Find us some shade. Thanks, hot legs. I never noticed that. What in the world? Gwen's standing right there. Oh my gosh. Well, what's funny is after this, we never see Gwen again, until the funeral, Harry's funeral. But like, she lives the story after that.
That's funny. I never
She just kind of
noticed
like
that. Yeah.
served her purpose, and that was it. Which
Yeah.
there's so many characters in this film, but you would think that she would have had something to do with third act, but she didn't.
But after that, so during that scene, so Gwen leaves, and then MJ is obviously pretty like just horrified at the whole thing, and then these bouncers are trying to kick him out, and he beats them all up.
Yeah.
Then he hits MJ, and she falls to the ground, and he realized what he did, and he's pretty horrified at it. And then she like sees like the black suit under, like his buttons come undone a little bit, and you can see
that was really good.
And so she sees that, and then he like notices that she sees it, and so he just kind of runs out, and that's when we get the great scene at the church where
Right. Well, and like before we move past it, I think that was really well done because it showed us that he's fully like embraced this side of himself, and and this selfish side, and he's been overcome by his selfishness and his sin, and he's let the suit control him, but he likes it and he wants it, and he holds it close to him, where he wears it all around, even though he normally wears a spider suit. But the fact that it exposed at that moment was pretty impactful, I think, and for his character.
For sure.
And then he saw what he saw what his actions have caused and what happened. Or what was the result of his actions as MJ's on the ground in tears and in pain after what he did to her.
Yeah.
So then he leaves.
Yeah, like she's not even like crying like because of like that he hit her, but like he's like just completely, his selfishness is like completely ruining her life too, like, and hurting her not only physically but like emotionally, and she's needed him. Like she lost her job like as a on a Broadway play. Like her dreams were completely taken away from her and crushed, and she needed him, and he wasn't there, and so she went to Harry, and then Harry right away then tries to kill her, and she's like, what is going on? What is with my taste in men? I need a new life.
Yeah, seriously.
And so she's just completely destroyed, and
she's a broken character,
and she seems like such a selfish character, but I mean she is, but she's also being completely like all the men in her life are just treating her so horribly, and so it's kind of like what you would expect from a woman in that kind of situation, though everybody's responsible for their own decisions.
And then, so he walks out of the bar, and then cue the rain. We haven't gotten very many scenes like this in the films we watch, but you will see this often in films. Usually once you're about to enter the third act, you're finishing the second act, you hit a type of a dark night of the soul, where the character needs to repent or needs to change, and as everything has gone wrong, he's at his bitter end. And then oftentimes rain is used as a way to symbolize that renewal, that repentance, that baptism. He's being baptized, he's being renewed. So he goes out in the rain and recognizing what he has done, and then he goes up on top of the church building, and you have that just the cinematography in this film is actually so well done, and there was just a lot of even just camera shots I noticed, and I think I'm noticing this more just as I watch films and stuff. But it's also significant that he sees a building, and he goes to the church building and he stands on top of it, and you have that scene where the camera's panning while he's standing on top of the cathedral, and he's sitting there in his Venom suit, contemplating his life and recognizing the wrong that he has done and what this suit has caused, and he's ready to be rid of it. So he's made new, he's washed, he's repenting, and then you have the whole scene where he gets rid of the suit.
Yeah, and then so we have it's so great. So we have this like this washing of the sin off of him.
Yep.
But then it's like falling onto Eddie.
Onto Eddie, who's also in a similar place.
Yeah.
So it's just okay. Yes, it's kind of a weird coincidence that Eddie walks into this church building at the same time that Toby's doing this. Fine, whatever. Okay. It's still it's well told story. Okay,
Yeah.
because you do have both these characters. He also doesn't understand how prayer works. As he's asking the Lord to kill Peter.
Yeah.
I just realized this. Which he does in a sense that
Yeah.
Peter is dying here, baptism. He's going into death, and until he's being reborn. He has to kill himself. He has to kill the suit. He has to be rid of the sin, and die, and then but in his death, as the death is removed, Eddie is baptized. Eddie is baptized and becomes Venom. He becomes what Peter was, but Eddie wants it, and he gives into that finally, and he will not repent eventually. He's given a chance to repent later on, but he doesn't. And so, the sin falls on him. The death is, Peter goes from death to life. Eddie goes from life to death.
Yeah. Well, and so
I just kind of all realized that and put that together, but that's brilliant.
Well, and when Peter kind of gets it all off of him, he's literally laying there naked, and it's. I mean, I love how they did the shadows. You don't actually see that he's naked, but he's naked, and so they made it perfect, that he was reborn. Literally, he's laying there naked, reborn, because he just completely got washed away. And it is one of my. It's a great scene.
It's whole good. Thing. It's great. Really well done.
And then we get into our third act. So Eddie jumps out at the camera as he becomes Venom. And then we kind of cut to him meeting Sandman and giving him. So this is where I'm like, okay, this is where the Sandman arc, I lose it, because I don't get why he would even care to kill Spider-Man. There wasn't any real connection there, other than they had that little fight, but there was no need for him to actually want to kill him.
Sure.
Because of his character. The whole point was he wasn't a murderer. He wasn't a killer. And so then he was a killer to kill Spider-Man for a little while, but then at the end he's not, and he's like, I'm not a Batman. Point.
Yeah, that's weird.
So that was just that whole thing really bothered me. I'm like, no, that was dumb.
Doesn't work.
It didn't work. But anyway, we get the connection for Venom and Sandman. They plot to kill Spider-Man. They capture MJ and put her up in a big old web really high in the sky.
They kidnap MJ again for the third time. These newscasts have got to just start realizing that it's just the same woman every time.
Yeah.
It's looks like someone's got MJ again.
There's been lots of parodies of stuff like this that they point that out. They're oh, it's that person again. Mega Minds, when he always is capturing what's her name. Mega Mind's a great movie. but
also going back, not to rehash it, but I'm gonna rehash it. The next scene after Eddie becomes Venom is Peter in the shower. And it's actually, I think, really well done, because it lingers on his face for a long time, actually, the camera does. And it's just that it's finally showing us, show don't tell. It's not telling us that he's a new person. It's showing that he's being reborn. He is repented, and he is a new person now. He's no longer who he once was. He's a new person. He's reborn. And
and then he learns that he sees on the news that doesn't he have a conversation with Aunt May?
Yep, again? Aunt May. Yep, another great conversation with her.
Yeah,
she's
remind me of what that was.
Yeah, talking about so that's where he admits all that he's done wrong, because she asks him hey, weren't you going to propose to Mary Jane? And he's just saying no, I wasn't able to do so, which further supplants his repentance, and he's now telling it to Aunt May, which I think Aunt May was just so well handled in these three films, just as a wise mother character to Peter. She's not necessarily a big plot. She doesn't play a significant part in the plot of these films a whole lot. I mean, she kind of does. But she helps Peter's character move forward and learn lessons. You have the conversation with her, the conversation about killing Sandman, and then you have this conversation, and he gives her the ring back, and she's like, no, I still believe you're going to make the right choice. pretty much, and so she gives him another lesson, and she leaves the ring on the table. She says, "I believe in you, Peter." So even though he's not believing in himself necessarily in that moment, because he knows what he's done and he knows the mistakes he's made, and he has to live with it. She's like, I still believe in you, and I believe you can do the right thing, and so she leaves the ring with him.
Yeah, and then Peter learns on the TV, I think, that about MJ being kidnapped.
Yeah.
And so what does he do? He puts on his blue and red suit, which is just wonderful. It's like the way I don't know if they did this, but I think they did this. They made the blue and red stick out a lot more at this part in the movie when they compared to others.
Interesting.
Or yeah. I don't know. It just seemed like so vibrant. You're like, yes, he's back.
Right.
Just a little note that I thought
so
of. But
well, then he goes to Harry.
He goes to Harry. Yeah, he goes to Harry, and he doesn't apologize, but he explains himself.
Well, right. It's kind of like two brothers, that have beef. It's like you don't have to say it. You don't have to necessarily say sorry. It's like you know what you're doing. Like him going there was, in a way, his apology.
Yeah, for sure.
Somewhat like, so there was that reconciliation that was needed there, and
but
when he pulls the suit out of he pulls the suit out, and it's his red and blue suit, and he's looking at it. It's like, that's just a great scene.
Yeah,
and the music. Absolutely. I remember that one gave me chills.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So he goes to Harry and says, MJ needs our help. And he basically is saying, I cannot do this without you. I need you to do this with me. And he's like, he knows like he's going to his death if he goes alone. And Harry says no. And I think Harry even knows in that moment that he would go to his death if he goes alone. And so I thought that was pretty powerful too, because he was saying no. And lets Peter leave, and Peter goes, and this is his sacrifice. Like, he went there like knowing, like, he's like, I have to save her. This is me. I have to put my needs aside. Like, this is for her. And so I thought that was a great moment too. And then he goes and faces these guys, and he fights them for a little bit, and
and then we find out. Well, Harry finds out what really happened to his father, because his butler decided to keep it a secret for however many years.
Yeah, I know.
Man, that one's always just, it just sticks out to you. It's just like, it's just so dumb, man. This movie's as such, it's so good in some places, but so bad in others.
Yeah. He was pierced by his own blade.
I cleaned his wound. The blade that pierced his body was definitely from his own glider.
Yeah, and then Harry's like, oh, I can't believe I didn't know this. As Peter's been telling him, like, for 2 years.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so Peter goes and fights them and is losing. And this is where we have our Dark Knight of the Soul. He goes to this fight. I mean, this was his sacrifice. He knows, like, he knows he's going to lose, but he has to fight anyway. Like, and this is like that N.D. Wilson quote, like, the greatest heroes, stand up against evil, not because they know they're going to win, but because they know it's the right thing to do. And so that's what he does. And he stands up against these guys, knowing he's probably going to lose, and he is losing. Venom, wraps his web around Peter's throat and is pulling him down and choking him while Sandman's pounding on him. Again, why is Sandman trying to kill him? We don't know, but he's just there trying to kill him. And,
I guess it's because he humiliated, Peter killed him. Or tried to kill him, but it didn't make any sense by the end. Especially,
when you get to his arc and all that, it didn't make any sense. But anyway, so he's dying, and there's this big moment. The reporter's like, I'm not sure how much longer he can take it, and they're like, this could be the end of Spider-Man. And then the tick 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 tick, the bomb gets right onto Sandman's face, and boom, explodes. We see that Harry came after all to save the day. Just a great scene. And it just kind of shows like it shows a lot of growth both in Harry and in Peter, like that they were able to reconcile, and Peter's willingness to give up his life to save MJ's life, I would say, was part of the inspiration for Harry to go, and being a friend and being worthy of being a friend again, because like the Peter in the beginning and in the middle of this movie was not a friend worthy of a good friendship, of someone willing to go there to save their friend's life, and Harry goes and saves his life, and I thought that was really great. And then they work together. They make a great team. It's just a wonderful scenes of them taking on these two guys, and then I don't know, was there...
Yeah, it's good. If I like Spider-Man's what they do with Spider-Man in this, and then Green Goblin is pretty good. I've never been a big fan of his suit and the glider. It just doesn't look like Green Goblin.
Oh yeah, no.
So it's like I wish they would have done a little bit, made it look a little more like his dad. But
yeah, well,
other than that,
he's Hobgoblin
scenes.
So
right, but I think they actually, like, even the credits, he's called like the New Goblin. They don't they don't even call him Hobgoblin in this. Interesting.
That's weird, yeah. And yeah, you want to kind of finish off the story of what happens?
Well, yeah. There? So as Venom, after Sandman's defeated, because of their teamwork, we get more confrontation from Venom. I think Mary Jane gets pretty much rescued. Oh yeah, because she falls off from the web. He saves her. Sandman's defeated, and so now we just have Venom. And I mean, I've always hated Topher Grace's Venom. It doesn't work for me. When the mask comes off, and
speaking of Venom,
Grace, it's really weird.
Oh yeah, it is.
Venom. I know we just got the Venom 3 trailer.
Yeah, we got the Venom 3 trailer. Listen to our movie chronicles where we talk about that, and we talk about all other stuff that's going on in the film industry. Check that out, and also check out our Patreon only show, mini reviews, where we talk about the end credit scene, the Stan Lee cameo, and check out the IMDb rating and compare it to our rating, and then we do mini reviews that are only available there. And it's a good way to support us and help us to keep on making these reviews, and so we would appreciate that. Just a little plug there. So we thank you for your support and listening.
Yes, thank you.
You can keep on going.
And if you're watching on YouTube, please comment, and subscribe.
Yes, and leave 5-star reviews, and
tell us your opinion about Spider-Man 3, and
yes,
feel free to leave some hate comments because of our opinions. Okay, we're not saying this movie is the greatest movie ever. Okay, it's got some good parts, but it's also really bad in some places.
Well, we still got our rating, and we'll finish up the story real quick. So
let's finish up the story. Yeah, so Venom, he's there. Like I said, I don't like Topher Grace's Venom. It just doesn't work for me. It's just weird, and it's definitely not comic book accurate. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
And it's just a little too. It's not intimidating enough, I guess. I think he should be bigger for one. I think that's my biggest issue. Is he's so like a small little guy that, and the Venom is still like not much taller than Spider-Man. So anyways, I always imagine Venom is bigger and bulkier, but whatever. So you have that confrontation, and then Venom is about to kill Peter with the glider. Oh yeah, he gets Peter. He webs Peter up and
strings him up, ties him
up, and then grabs the glider, jumps, and is about to kill him. And this did bug me because I feel like Peter could have easily jumped out of the way. Like, he's kind of on his knees, but he could have moved. Like, I mean, they didn't really make it very clear as to like whether or not he could. I think he could have moved out of the way, but whatever.
Yeah.
So as a glider, just like a glider killed Green Goblin, a glider is coming down in the hands of Venom to kill Spider-Man, but Harry sees it and jumps in the way and is killed in his place. And so, different from his father died trying to kill Spider-Man. Harry dies by trying to save Spider-Man. So, cool arc there.
Yeah.
And Harry gives his life for his brother, for his best friend,
Yep.
and he's killed. And then Peter, once he works through the grief, he goes after Venom, and he remembers that, when he was in the bell tower, the sound is what affected the suit, and so he knows that the symbiote doesn't like loud noises, and so he grabs these poles and starts hitting them together and creates this perimeter around Venom and starts hitting them, and Venom's about freaking out and dying, and then he does one final hit, and then he sees that Topher Grace's or Eddie Brock is kind of he's exposed, and he's like coming out of the suit kind of, and so Peter webs him up, pulls him out, and then Eddie's thrown out, and then the suit starts growing and getting bigger and bigger, and more menacing than it was when he was actually on Eddie.
Yeah.
Whatever. And then Peter grabs one of the pumpkin bombs off of Harry's glider and throws it at Venom. And then you have this, I think, pretty great moment where Eddie, Eddie sees what's about to happen. He sees that Peter's going to kill the symbiote, and Eddie freaks out. He's like, "No, don't do it." And he's like, "What are you doing?" And then he jumps towards the suit, towards the bomb. And he dies with the suit because he doesn't repent. He doesn't give it up. He still feels attached to it, and he wants the power. He wants the suit. He wants to try to save it, but ends up losing his life in the process.
Yeah.
And that is
pretty
much our story, because then you have and then you have the moment between Peter and Harry, which I thought was just such a great culmination of the last three films, a good ending to their story, and it was impactful. It moved me, and I thought that was well handled, well done. Harry dies, and Peter and MJ embrace, and you have another pretty much repentance moment while they're mourning the death of
their family.
Oh, that's later on. Never mind. But you have that they're reconciling in a sense, and then you have that scene where she's singing at the club and singing what's she say?
Oh yeah.
I'm through with love.
Yeah.
I'll never love again. And then Peter walks in and sees her, and then she comes down to him, and then they hug and embrace, and they reconcile in the end. And we don't know whether or not they're together necessarily, but I think it's implying that they are. And
well, we know based on
he's a changed
Spider-Man
man.
No Way Home that they made it work out. They made it work out.
Did make it work out, right? But he's a changed man. She's somewhat changed, and
and then they finish off as well. Sandman's arc.
Yeah, I think what they do really well though is Peter goes and gets the girl. Like he's taken responsibility. He's repented of what he's done, and he goes and wins the girl. He kills the dragon. He kills the dragon both in himself and dealing with his sin, and then he goes and kills Venom and Sandman and deals with his enemies and saves Aunt Mary Jane. He saves the girl. I love there was no girl boss moment. There was no moment where MJ's like, I don't need a man. I can save myself. It's like she actually did help with Venom. And she threw the brick, but that was fine. I mean, it's whatever. It's fine. Made sense. But no moment where she's like standing up and being independent and saying, I don't need no man. It's like, no, like you do. Like you needed Peter to save you, and he did. He sacrificed himself and did the right thing to rescue you and save you. Even he did so even knowing that the two of you may never be together. Like he probably thinks that he's ruined any chances of being with her. But he still makes that sacrifice and goes and saves her, and he gets the girl. In the end, great culmination of the story. So, yes, for sure. He also reconciles with Sandman, you were saying.
Yeah, so Sandman comes back after kind of getting defeated. I mean, I didn't even understand his whole defeat, but then he comes back just fine.
He blew up or something.
Yeah, he like kind of falls apart, but it's not like he can't just come back together again.
I know, that was weird. Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. A lot of Sandman didn't make sense. A lot of my problems with this movie were all around Sandman. Because, like, we had this whole thing about him killing his uncle and regretting it and saying, he constantly says in this movie, I'm not a bad man. He says in the beginning, I'm not a bad man. I just have bad luck. And Anyway, so Sandman comes back after he's defeated, and after Harry's dead and Venom's dead, Peter and him talk it over, and Sandman tells the whole story of what happened, how it was an accident. He was, just trying to get some money for his daughter who's sick.
Right, because we think that he is a killer,
Yeah.
and he's trying to kill Spider-Man, so it's like, okay, but it turns out he actually wasn't, and he didn't,
and he had no desire to kill anybody, and so there's a pretty emotional scene there, and Peter forgives him. He's like, Sandman wasn't even like it's kind of like the same thing with Harry and Peter. Like he wasn't really apologizing, but Peter forgave him, and it's a pretty impactful scene. Apart from the things that didn't make sense of like, I don't know why he was trying to kill him, whatever. But yeah, no, it was they all had a full arc, all the villains, and it all worked great for their each individual character for how it ended.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good culmination for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
And there's just so many characters though in this film. Like Gwen Stacy didn't get an arc. Eddie had a tragic arc.
Yeah.
Tragic story.
So this was a correlation that I saw. So with the three villains, they were all very different villain stories. All three of them were a different one, which was so Sandman was a good guy with bad luck who kind of ends up having good luck in the end and things work out. And then you have Harry, an evil man who ascends into goodness and repents. And then you have Eddie, who's essentially a good guy, and descends into evil.
Right.
And they all have their full arc in those, and they all complete their stories. All the villains, anyway. Sandman. Another thing I didn't like was it felt like every time he needed some sand, it was available.
Oh yeah, very conveniently.
It was very, convenient.
It's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. And it is everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what? We should probably end this.
Let's get into the technical. I mean, we kind of already talked about technical. CGI was good. I think it's each movie has gotten even better, and this one was good.
Better.
There's a couple scenes that I noticed, but
fight scenes were great.
Yeah.
There's one scene where Peter and MJ were swinging. It was after he saved her. You saw that? Yeah, it was just like really cartoonish. It was like, okay, that was they either had to add that in really late, or they just, probably that they just didn't have enough time to really fully animate it, because everything else looks great, and there's that one scene.
I noticed it too.
Like a cartoon.
Yeah, that's funny.
But other than that, I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
Venom, as far as what they did with Venom, it looked great, and the symbiote suit, when it's like latching onto Peter, was solid, and when he takes it off in the church, that was great too. And that was
sure. Cool. All right, what do you want to rate this?
Oh boy. So if you look at our ranking list, not that we're basing it off of what we already have, we want to give it a fair score, but Spider-Man 1 and 2 are our number 1 and 2 movies.
I know this is gonna be our.
Are we gonna complete the trilogy? Is this is this a perfect superhero trilogy?
Oh yeah, no doubt. This is gonna be above X2.
You think so?
I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know. X2, the whole thing with Wolverine and Stryker and their whole arcs, and I don't know. That was a good movie. We're gonna get in so much trouble.
Yeah, I don't know if it does actually. There is a lot of bad stuff in this movie.
There's a lot, like I said, a lot of conveniences. Like we said, you can tell a great story, but if it's not executed well, we're gonna point that out.
Yeah.
I feel like there were a lot of things done really poorly that stand out a little too much in this film. But a lot of things they did well. But like I said, with the three villains, there's just so many characters in this film. They do a better job at developing a movie with a lot of characters than like other films, like the X-Men movies. Except for maybe X2, which even X2, you still have a whole bunch of characters that aren't well developed because they don't focus on them enough. This one, you have a lot of characters, and they focus well on a lot of them. There's some that they sideline. Like I said, Harry's sidelined for most of the film until he's brought in for plot convenience.
But even when he's sidelined, it kind of makes sense. I
guess
it didn't not fit that he was sidelined. It just was that he was sidelined.
Yeah. So for
It's-
me,
I don't know
I
if
was
it like is it above a 7? I don't know. Is it 6.9?
I'm thinking
Maybe.
like 6.9 or 7. Or 6.97 or 7.1. Like maybe this does tie X2. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is this a 7?
We could do 7.01. That way it's above X2.
Above X2,
And
right,
still
yeah.
match it. That way the
Matches all
trilogy is the
triangles.
top 3.
Apparently we're Spider-Man fans here.
Yeah, no. I don't know.
For me, I would say 6.9.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if we
I
go
do
anything
think
above that, we're just being biased.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I think 6.9 is reasonable. It's definitely
Yeah.
above First Class. So, like we said before, First Class did a lot of things well, but they objectified a lot of women and had a lot. There were things that were definitely not
for
great
sure.
about that film that stood out for us. And
Yeah.
so,
No,
anyways,
I think it's good for
I
this
think
one.
6.9 is fair.
Yeah. No, that's about what I was thinking for
Still higher than I
this
thought it would be.
movie. And
Some people say this is like the worst superhero movie ever.
yeah, I don't
Like, no
I don't
joke.
agree. Yeah, it's not quite true.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
As a superhero movie,
Cool.
I don't know. Maybe it is pretty bad, but as a movie, I think we give it it
Yeah.
a fair score.
Cool. Well, you guys can look forward to next week. We got Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. That'll be
Yes.
our last episode of the season. We're excited about that, and not that it's ending, but we're excited to kind of wrap up this season. It's been fun, and we're looking forward to next season as well. I mean, that's probably where most of our anticipation lies, because we're going to be going over our favorite movies, and we're really excited about that, and it's going to be fun.
Yes.
We're going to do
Great.
our draft next week. We're going to do it for it'll be released on our Patreon. So yeah, you can listen to our draft to hear well in advance what movies we're going to be reviewing. Yeah, it'll be a fun thing. We're going to kind of set some ground rules for what we can and can't do, and we're going to it'll also kind of work as an intro to season 2, which we had an intro to season 1, so that'll be kind of our intro to season 2. So you can kind of expect. We're going to also go over our new layout, because we're going to have it, because it's not going to be superhero movies, so we're going to have a new layout for how we're going to review, and we're going to kind of discuss that and work that out and figure out exactly how we're going to do it. And yeah, it'll be pretty relaxed and fun. Crack open a cold one and enjoy an hour of us talking about movies and our favorite movies. It'll be fun. So that'll be on our Patreon. And yeah, and we got Rise of the Silver Surfer next. That's our last one for this season, and then we'll take, I think we decided 3 weeks off, 4 weeks. But we'll find something to give you guys each week.
Definitely.
We'll have something there for you, so you aren't empty-handed, and so you can continue looking forward to having something to listen to on your way to work every week. I mean, not every day, but every week. And there's lots of content on our Patreon, so if you subscribe to our Patreon, you will have
$5 a month.
You'll have something to listen to every day.
Cup of coffee.
Yep. Cup of coffee. Well, we will wrap this up. It's been a long one.
One cup of coffee a month.
Long one, fun one.
Let's give out
one cup of coffee a month.
This is well over an hour. Let's finish this up.
Yeah. All right.
So, thank you guys.
I said in the beginning, this could very well be our longest one. I don't know if it has hit our longest one yet, but
might not.
As I keep talking now, it might make it.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah. You want to take us out, Trent?
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. We just ask that you, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and on all the platforms, and give us reviews, 5-star review on podcasts. And yeah, we just thank you guys for watching. Just continue to be mindful of what you watch and what you consume, and we ask that you seek to glorify God in all that you do. And we hope that this is a helpful tool for you as you watch movies and seek to be critical of what you watch, but do so in a way that understands the beauty and goodness that can be seen in stories and film. So thank you all for watching this episode, and We will see you all on the next one.
Yep.
See ya.
See ya.